What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Mustard, back with another video, and today we here to review Alien Isolation. Now, before we start, as you see, I now have a new intro. I now have a new outro. Just working out on some things necessarily, but let's get into this video here. Now, Alien Isolation was what I've heard like one of the best horror games so far. So I'm here to review this boy. So, let's get on started into what you play as Rhea Bloody Ripley. No, I'm just playing. Y'all. You play as Amanda Ripley, and she is tasked with finding what happened to her mother because her mother boards this ship called the Nostromo. She always wanted to know what happened to her, so this was her job. Now, you have a team of Samuels and Taylor. You go on Severspool, which is a space station, which her mother used to be a part of necessarily. So they were just going to do like a small job, but Amanda's mission was necessarily to figure out what happened to her mother. It had been like 15 years, I believe. So she wanted to know the truth. Now, going to investigate the station, they figured out that something was wrong. Correspondence wasn't responding to what was going on. So they went over there to investigate. Now, as you see now, they're about to go over there to investigate what's going on. And they actually end up getting separated. The explosion happens or whatever. And they all get separated and they get stuck on the space station. Now, they're tasked to figure out, okay, what's going on necessarily. While Amanda's there, or should I just say Ripley, because that's what they call her out the entire game, she's looking for necessarily like a flight recorder. Because the flight recorder, I guess her mom recorded one, before I don't know if, she died necessarily. They don't really express that. Like, they make it seem like it, but you never know. And I'll get back to that why later on in the video. So, anyways, when you're on the space station, you figure out that the corporation that she was with, they kind of got some other things going on necessarily. And it turns out that they were testing on aliens necessarily. And during that time while you're on the space station, you actually encounter the alien for the first time. So now here's where the real horror comes in at. The best way to, get away from this alien, of course, is hiding under a desk or hiding in the lockers, which I think is crazy because they even got mechanics for, when you hide in a locker and the alien gets towards you, you legit have to like move your analog stick back and you have to hold like one of the back buttons. And when you do that, I think you like cover your mouth in the locker and stop you from breathing heavy so the alien can't hear you necessarily, so he can't pull you out of the locker and kill you. Now, for a game that's like, I gotta say like 10 years old now, 10, 11 years old, because I think this game came out in 2014. Y'all shoot me in the comments if I'm wrong about that year, but for a game like about a decade old, it's crazy how much stuff that they have that like games today like fail to do correctly. So I was really surprised when I played this game. And yes, I will say, y'all, this is my first time actually playing Alien Isolation. I'm not a big fan of aliens and all that other stuff necessarily, but it was fun to play this game. So anyways, while you're still in this space station, you now know that there's the alien there. You try to get off of the space station, but the ship that you're on actually can't hear you. You lose communications with them, and then I don't want to say they leave, but they pretty much leave because they just like, yeah, they pretty much give you a big fuck you, pretty much. So Ripley believes that since she's on the space station and there's an alien there, the best idea to do would be, hey, let me still figure out what happened to my mom and why. So while she's getting chased by the alien, there's other things that you really have to worry about while you're on the space station. There are other humans that are alive that's still on the space station. they got like some security team, which I believe was the corporations like people necessarily, which had like the armor suits on and stuff like that. I can't think of that corporation's name, y'all. When it comes to me, I will get back to you on that, but I really don't remember that corporation's name, which is crazy. But other than that, you got like the robot too, which is the robots that are there. They're controlled. They're like command control. So I think there's like one guy that like commands all the robots, but you don't meet the guy in the game. I think he dies. I think he just straight up like died or whatever. So like you don't get to, you get the voice command like one, like legit one, and that's literally only because that robot hadn't came out of like processing or whatever yet. So like you only get the chance to really deal with that one ass robot. But other than that, these robots, they're hostile. They're dead ass hostile. So what is crazy about these robots is um you can kill them, which I will get on now until the next section of the game, necessarily. Well, more or less, this is what you find throughout the game. So, in the game, you will find certain items like compounds or injectors or just some of these stuff and scrap necessarily. And it's these items and stuff that you can use to make stuff for yourself, and this is how you necessarily go throughout the game and survive. Now, some of these items that you will necessarily get later on in the game, some of them you'll get early on in the game. But like, say for instance, when you first start off and you find scrap and all these compounds and all this other stuff, you can literally go to like this crafting system and you can legit make like med kits for yourself, so you can heal yourself and stuff like that. But the farther you get into the game, you'll get things like the revolver and the shotgun. And the reason why I'm going back to the robots here is because you can kill the robots with the guns, but they have to be headshots, y'all. Like, if you do not get that headshot, the robot legit says guns don't work on me. And then he beats you up. Like, he grabs you, picks you up by the neck, and just start beating on you, which is insane to really think about. But other than that, the other thing that works against him, which is later on in the game, I think it's like really late in the game, you get the bolt gun, which you just shoot them in the head with that. I think they just straight up die. I think it's like a one-shot thing necessarily. So that's good. You other items that you get is like the flare, which is really good for distractions. It's good for distractions literally against like everybody, even the alien. So the flare is a lot more helpful than you think it is. I didn't use the flare until late into the game because I thought it was whack. And then when I used it and I started getting away from it, I was like, okay, this is probably one of the best items in the game. I was just sleeping on it, y'all. The noisemaker, which I didn't use too much of this. I used it like once, and I only use it on like the robots necessarily. I don't know how well it works against the alien, which is something I should have probably tried to figure out. The smoke bomb is in there, which the smoke bomb is really good for just straight up like blinding and distracting. Like, you throw a smoke bomb, run through it like while the alien's in the room. I don't think the alien will be able to find you. I didn't really use too much of this either. I didn't use this against really anybody like that, so that's cool. The flashbang does work against the alien, but you only got like a few seconds. It's not like it's gonna blind the alien for like a minute or two. No, if he gets blinded for probably 10 seconds and then he back on your ass. So you gonna do what you better do and move on. The EMP mine, which I use against the robots, it's good against the robots. It does keep them like, it disables their systems for like a minute or two, but then they back on your ass. So if you're gonna use the EMP mine, use it, however you want to use it. Pipe bomb, I didn't even know the pipe bombs were in this game necessarily. I picked up the schematics for them and didn't use them, which is quite crazy to really think about. You also get the stun baton, which is, stun baton is okay. You can shock the robots with them. But that's really it. They only shock. They're not even shocked as long as the EMP mine. So like they pretty much just get out of it. And then necessarily going back to the guns like the shotgun and the revolver, they do not work on the alien. Don't even bother trying to shoot that alien. Like, don't. Like, the whole purpose of that alien, he gonna eat your bullets. So You get two things out of all these things that are really good for the alien, but you get one very late game. So the first one is the Molotov, which, you know, fire hurts the alien. Now, does it kill the alien? No. It only, burns it, keeps it away or whatever, and then the flamethrower, which also does the same thing. So, anyways, while learning about, trying to find out what happened to your mother necessarily, even after having all these items, you discover that, in your journeys and you figure out what's going on with the ship and everything, that you do get in contact with Samuels and Taylor, but Taylor is relatively hurt. So you have to go get like a med kit for her. Now you have to go through series of, getting away from the alien, all that stuff before you get to her and whatever. And you do find the marshal of the space station. So he was the guy that you were supposed to speak to at the beginning to do your little drop off or whatever the hell they were trying to do at first, and move on. So his backup literally consisted of like him and like one other person. And then when you go to like his area in the space station, he got like 5 to 6 people. But while you're there, there's a dude that's locked up. Forgot his name at the moment, but he actually used to work with your mom, and he wanted to get out of his cell. Now, the only way that he was going to give you information about his mother, which what you are watching now is actually gameplay of you playing with him, and you are with your mother's, Ripley's mom's team, I should say, not your mother, Ripley's mom's team, and they literally are like on a planet, and this is like the mission where you actually find out that they were the first people to find out about the alien colonization and what was necessarily going on that planet. But anyways, back to Ripley. The dude that you're playing, the dude that you are locked up in the cell, he wanted to get out of his cell, and Ripley would let him out, but he told her the only way that he was going to give her information about her mother was if he got out of that cell necessarily. So the mission that you're seeing now is necessarily him telling part of the story to Ripley what happens, but he ends up getting out of the cell anyways, because he doesn't tell you the rest of the story. Ripley was going to leave him in there. Sorry for the confusion. Ripley and the marshal and everybody else was going to leave him in there necessarily, and he just wanted to get out. So he was trying to bribe Ripley pretty much. I'll tell you about your mom if you let me out. And, Ripley necessarily, I wouldn't say tries to help him out, but he ends up getting out on his own anyways. So really within the next part of the game, because after you leave him, he's still locked in there necessarily. The next part of the game, the alien that's been chasing you this whole time, you're going to lock him away in like a certain part of the space station, and then you are like going to shoot him out into space. So you're pretty much gonna like put him in a pod and shoot him into space. And you find out that once you get to that part, once you do that, the marshal himself tries to screw you over. He legit tries to just lock you in there with the alien and say, fuck you, and, all that fun stuff. So you do actually end up locking that alien away. And turns out that when you do that, we actually ended up filling out that there was a colonization of all, like, the aliens and all that stuff forming in, like, the center, the heart of Severpool, which is the whole space station itself. And yeah, once you figured that out, you had to, the best way to just deal with that space station now was just to blow it up. That was the best way to get rid of it, was to blow it up. I'm not gonna lie to you, because now the mission was necessarily, they didn't want aliens to reach the human population. So they were just like, we got to get rid of these aliens as best as we can necessarily, or otherwise that they gonna find their way on the Earth or whatever they're trying to do, and they're pretty much gonna destroy the humans. So Ripley was this was Ripley's plan to go into the heart of the Severpool space station and literally blow it up, and that was her whole big plan in the end. Now, what I didn't like was you do get to blow it up. This is like around the time you do get the bolt gun, by the way, which like I said before, kind of crazy. Which was kind of crazy about it is you do get to blow it up. You do find out the heart about the alien station, but Jesus Christ, had to do a lot just to actually blow it up because you were like, when you were in that area, you're like trying to hide. You do have your fire or whatever, but I use my fire quite a bit, so like maybe that area was just hard for me necessarily, but it was a lot going on there necessarily. So you do get to blow it up and all that fun stuff. But yeah, the whole point of the game was you finding about your mom. You do find the recorder. You know, before you blow up the space station, you find out about your mother. Samuels does end up dying. Taylor ends up dying because the dude who I told you about in the cell, he actually does eventually get out, which is insane to think about. I don't know how he got out. He just got out. I don't think they really explained that very well. So, and he took Taylor with them. So he got on his ship, and you know, you find out about your mom and all that stuff on that dude's ship and what happened to her. And like I said, they don't really explain whether she died or not. But anyways, back onto the space station. You do blow the space station up. You do get in contact to your ship that you were, that you were with in the beginning. And you do escape the aliens. Like, you do blow up the space station, you do escape the aliens, and then that's it. You're pretty much done. So now you're back on your ship, which I will say I'm sorry because there was so much going on within this game. You had to literally run from people, you had to run from robots, you had to run from the alien. There was so many things that was like getting in your way of finding out the one true purpose of what happened to your mother, which, like I said, you do. But you know, you get back on your ship and all that, and even what you're watching now, this is like the close to like the end of the game or something like that. You find out what happens to, you know, you necessarily. So anyways, Amanda gets back on the space station and everything, and not space station, her ship that she came on with in the beginning of the game. And you walk around and you're looking for, I forgot the name of that lady who was in charge of that ship that you were on, your first ship. But when you go to look for it, you do figure out that there is an alien that actually made it off the space station onto your leaving ship. So the end of the game consists of you, kind of like a quick time event. You open the latch to let the alien out necessarily. And once you do that, you pretty much drift off into space. And you would assume that, you know, Ripley is dead or whatever. But it actually ends up turning out that right before the game goes off, I think she like opens her eyes because a ship flies past her. So I think that she lived. Now, with all that being said, in the game ending, you know, necessarily, this game had a lot because I felt like this game learned who you were, learned your patterns, like going in this and that locker necessarily. You couldn't really go into like the same locker and stuff twice because the alien would really learn your patterns. Another good thing was like the sounds. I think the sounds was really good too because like you could hear the alien walk in if he was getting close or not. Once he got close, the music would like ramp up higher and stuff like that. You could pay attention to the sounds of like when he was in the vent, like when he was getting close to coming out, or if he was just like far away. They had this little reader thing that you could use to really track the aliens or the people, which was really done well. I think all of that was really done well. They did a lot in this horror game to really grab your attention and really keep your attention there. So, with that being said, my final verdict for this game, I would easily probably give this game a 9 out of 10. This game was done really well for its time. I'm surprised with like how much I enjoyed this game, of it not being an alien game. And like I said, this game's like a decade old. So for 10 years later, for me to enjoy this game more than I do most of the horror games that have been coming out recently and probably have been, I won't say they've been bad, but they haven't been on the scale of this. This game was really done well. So until next time, y'all, I thank y'all all for watching. Peace out.